Welcome to I Am Goddess Collective podcast, a sacred space for empowerment through modern magic, spiritual activism, and reclaiming your power. I am your host, Nixie Marie, feng shui practitioner, earth activist, and mystic, here to support and inspire your journey in becoming the change you wish to see in this world. That change starts within. Join myself and fellow thought leaders, metaphysical experts, and luminaries each week as we explore practical and magical ways to living in your highest alignment. Your journey as an empowered goddess begins here. Let's dive in. Well, hello, magical beings. Welcome back to another beautiful week here in I Am Goddess Collective. I hope that you are being reminded of your magic, your bliss, and your joy, and still remaining strong through all these uncertain times. I'm actually very excited. We have a show for you today with Erin Claire Jones. We get to discuss human design, which is a new topic that we have not gone over here in I Am Goddess Collective. And I've been nerding out to human design ever since I met Erin. She was actually the last podcast episode that I recorded in person before this pandemic. So it was such a great podcast, an opportunity to dive deeper and understand who we are on a deeper level. It's kind of like, it's similar to astrology. You learn your human design to find out more about yourself and also others, really understanding how you work with others, how you really can create people around you that support you, or even how to talk to them. So Erin gets into all that today, and I'm excited to dive deep into this show. But before I do, I wanted to ramble for a minute because I've had a moment to just think about like all of the beautiful lessons that I've been really learning from the medicine that has come from this pandemic, and just taking time to slow down and taking time to be with myself and be with my beloved and recreate and repivot and do all these things and shift things up. And, some of the biggest things that I'm super grateful for right now and want to just kind of pay reverence to is the beauty in slowing down. And I think that this is something that we get to learn to implement into our lives from this point forward. And I signed up for this Earth Activist course by Starhawk and Pam Patty Love, I believe. And it's a regenerative business design course. So it helps create a business that is based on the principles of nature. So it allows for stability and resiliency and can withstand pretty much anything. And since I've really had to make a lot of pivots here in my world to keep things in the same sort of space and keep it going, especially this podcast, I am starting, my new business with clarity and the products that we're selling. And I really wanted to get inspired by other people who are doing things in a sustainable way, in an environmentally friendly way, and how to create a business that's based off of that. So in that being said, I really just felt so much reverence to this slowdown, because we talked about in that course how to create a business that allows and gives time for pausing, when to take times to slow down. Do you take a company retreat? Do you take time for yourself to go within? And I think that is like the biggest takeaway that I'm going to bring with me, and going to also hold anyone accountable who also wants to take that with them, and just remind us as a community and as a tribe to continue with the slow pause and know that there's cycles for this deep, sexual, sensual, slow, and I say sexual because it feels very sexual, to slow down and enjoy and bring pleasure into our life. And I've been practicing that to a really extremity, to the point where I've asked myself every day, okay, how slow can I go? And even though it seems slow, I've been producing almost faster because I'm producing with intention and I'm creating with intention. So I'm not burning myself out on all ends and on both candles. I'm allowing for my energy to be on when it's on and off when it's off. And a lot of people have been saying to me your hustle, you've been doing so much during this time. And to me, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done nearly half as much as I normally do. So that's been a good feedback, good reflection, and also really good proof that we don't need to push so hard. And why do we work 9 to 5? Why do we go, and I think these are the constructs, these types of paradigms we really get to push and question within our communities, within our workplaces. And if you are an entrepreneur and you're starting your own business, maybe that's something that you really want to consider in your type of career that you're going into, or your type of company you want to build is something that is allowing for you to slow down, and it goes with the cycles of nature, and it's not, giving you a pressure or an over exertion to where you're burnout on all ends. And I've been there. You guys all know me, and I've shared with many times the times that I've had burning out, and doing too much. And that is like the biggest boundary I've created with myself right now has been around not burning out and not doing too much. So I've been really clear with everyone in my life, like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm not doing. This doesn't feel good. This feels good. And that's part of the reason why I know some of you guys have been reaching out, asking about the membership. So we did actually cancel the membership site. We moved it over to Patreon because there was a lot of back-end issues, and I was just feeling like, you know what, this isn't working, and I get to honor that. And that wasn't an easy decision because I knew, obviously that was going to shift things, and maybe not everyone would be happy about that. But at the end of the day, this is that's coming from a people-pleasing, choice of why I would not do something. So for those that have that question, I answered it there. We have moved the membership site over to Patreon. It's so much easier. I can post things very quickly, and I can even go live in there. I mean, the overall hosting of Patreon is amazing. So if you are interested in joining the membership Patreon page, you can go to patreon.com/Goddess Collective. We're now doing bonus episodes every single week, and that gets published the same day as the podcast on Tuesdays. And I do a monthly gathering. So if you sign up for the top tier, which is $22.22 a month, you will get access to the live gatherings and meet your soul sisters and connect with other women who have been active inside the membership. And then there's also weekly meditations and all these other things. So we're just getting started. I mean, you guys know it's always a slow roll, kind of getting things off the ground. And right now, like I said, I've been slowing down. So I've been sort of taking my time to really shift this gear. And there's going to be so many shifts happening. As there's so many shifts happening with all of us, I think we're all getting a new set of wings right now. So thank you for your patience and all the support that you have given. But I am asking for your support now more than ever to keep this show on the road, as some of you are in my direct mailing list. You have probably received the email that stated the shifts that we're making, and that my main business, Nixie Desk Cleaning, who definitely contributed to all of the production of I Am Goddess Collective, has been heavily hit by COVID-19, and I did have to close my doors. So that has been, a big thing, and that's why we launched Clarity officially. And so, yeah, those are my ramblings, and I just wanted to share that with you guys because those are some really big takeaways I've had, and just why these shifts are being made and how you can support the show. Speaking of supporting the show, also, I have a really amazing review that came in, and I want to thank you. This is a review from Julia Ocean Child, and she shares that she had like a really beautiful experience in her journey. So thank you, everyone who has written a rating and review on the podcast. I really appreciate when I get these rating and reviews. They remind me why I keep going and why I continue to show up here every single week. Okay, so we have this review by Ocean Child by the lovely Julia. She says, I started listening to I Am Goddess Collective podcast in August of last year, 2019. And what a blessing this podcast has been. Okay, so I'll be real here. I've struggled with lack of self-confidence for like most of my life. But since listening to the podcast, I have once again found my connection to our Mother Earth, which has led me to be so much kinder to myself. As a child, I loved being outside among the flowers and cute creatures. I loved reading, writing, drawing, dancing, or just sitting still to listen to the wind. As I got older, the world taught me that that's kind of weird, and I believed it. So I repressed who I was. Fast forward to now, I'm grateful for my weirdness. More like awesomeness. Yes, queen. I now have a daily yoga and meditation ritual that truly saves me. I also discovered the healing of cacao ceremonies, and I'm even starting to do my own. I find myself opening up and creating once again after a long period of internalizing my pain and heartbreak. My writings, drawings are from my heart, and it's been very therapeutic. This podcast has helped me heal and be proud of my witchy ways. Finding you, Nixie, was like finding a kindred soul. Thank you forever and forever. That is amazing. And I just love this story because it's like, we've all to some degree felt like the way that we are, the things that we love, the things that we're drawn to, the things that we're called to is weird or crazy or wild. And, those stories, they try to take us away from who we are all the time. And this is so one of the reasons why, this podcast even exists and why I decided to create it was because there's so much there. I was like, there's got to be people like me out there. And I want to share what I've discovered and in the hopes that it will help other people find and remember who they are. So thank you so much for that review. It is lovely to see you shining in your witchy ways. Okay, so we've got the card pull of the day. This is a card by the Moon Deck, our lovely sponsors. We love them so much. I pulled the card Play. We've got the Play card. So play is a pathway to joy. That's the message of the card. There's a beautiful, youthful teenage goddess sitting on the moon, laying upside down. Her arms are open wide. She's in a leotard and she's got this beautiful flower in her hair. And she's just open and she's playful and she's embracing the joys of life. So now is a time for you to not take life so seriously. Now is a time for you to definitely tap into your inner joy, your inner child, embrace things that bring you to that place of inner playfulness. Maybe you have kids. I know so many of you have beautiful children and you might be stuck at home with them and it might not be so fun all the time, but I think a good way to shake up that energy is to play with them, Maybe you want to build some forts. I love building forts. Cameron actually just built us a fort on top of Ella, our boat, and when I saw it, he surprised me and it was the cutest thing ever. We're like two little children most of the time. And I think it's fun because it's like, what are things that you used to do as a kid and how can you do them now? Maybe introduce them to your children and share them with the world, show people that it's okay to play. It's okay to be creative. It's okay to be in that place of joy right now, because all seriousness aside, we are just big kids. And I think sometimes we need to put down the adulting card and not worry about the outside world, what's happening with the virus, how many people have died, lived, survived, etc. What the news is saying, what is going on. There's so much outside there in the outside world, but I'm really inviting you to come back to that place of inner power and sovereignty and say, what's important to me right now is that I play and that I'm alive and that I'm connected to what brings me joy. So that's our card for the day. And if you are interested in getting your own lovely oracle deck by the Moon Deck, you can get yours for 10% off at themoondeck.com/goddess. All right, so let's dive into this podcast episode today with the lovely Erin Claire Jones. She is going to teach us all about the beautiful system of human design. So I'll see you guys on the other side. Hello, beautiful ladies. Welcome back to another episode of I Am Goddess Collective podcast. I am sitting next to a beautiful goddess sister. We've got Erin Claire Jones on the show today. Hello, lovely. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm always very excited when I get to connect with my guests in person. Mm-hmm. It's pretty rare. Doesn't always happen. So happy to have you in the studio today.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I'm so honored to be here.
You picked a good day because it's supposed to rain this entire week.
Wow, it's been just perfectly sunny my time here. That's amazing.
Yeah, it would be a little tough getting up these roads on the rain, I tell you. But for those of you guys listening, so Erin Claire Jones, do you just go by like Erin Claire or Erin Jones?
Claire is my middle name, so I often go by Erin or Erin Claire.
I love Claire. That's a pretty name.
That's why I integrated
It almost
it
could
more.
be your first name. It's like you look like a Claire.
I feel that. Yeah, I feel that. I was just Erin Claire for a while, but I added my last name back on.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm Nixie Marie. Marie's my middle name, so I can resonate with that for sure. Well, the lovely Erin Claire Jones is a leadership coach specializing in human design, which I'm so pumped about because so many of you guys have requested this topic. And I feel so green in the area of human design, so I can't wait to just learn from you. And she's also just giving her some accolades. She's been featured in Forbes, Nylon, Well and Good, Mind, Body, Green, and so much more. She is really passionate about helping individuals and teams step into their, excuse me guys, highest alignment and highest potential by offering them the self-knowledge and tools to perform at the top of their personal and professional games. She has consulted for startups all over the world, built companies supporting executives, partnerships, and small teams to operate more harmoniously and effectively, and conducted research on leadership challenges at 90 plus early stage companies. That's amazing. I love that you work in the corporate space.
Yeah, I'm just like, I need to update my bio.
Oh yeah? You're like, who's that?
Who's that? Yes, I think why I was first, I know we'll talk about what human design is, but I think my first draw was really how can we make teams more just harmonious and effective. I think that I worked at a lot of startups and worked with a lot of companies, and they had amazing visions and amazing people, but like just didn't understand each other. So I think that human design can be so transformative on both an individual and team level, but the team stuff is so cool.
I'm very much into helping those types, like corporate businesses. I'm in feng shui and sort of help with that.
Cool.
But I think it's really powerful because that space is so dynamic. There's so many personalities that are going on. And I think that it's fascinating that you like have brought human design. So before we get started into all the deep things, I love to ask my guests this question to start off. What crystals are you currently working with and why?
Oh my gosh. I'm traveling right now and I don't have any with me. I usually have so many crystals in my bag at all times, but I just got this beautiful rose quartz at home and it's by my bed. And I think that it just feels like, honestly, my whole bedroom is like pink right now. I was like never into pink and I'm just in a phase where like light pink is my dream. But I think rose quartz, it just feels like such a nourishing, opening thing to have next to me as I sleep every night.
Are you calling in a partner?
I live with my partner.
Okay.
Yes.
So you guys are
opening to him.
Opening up that romance and intimacy.
Yes, exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really sweet, special stone, especially with
sweet.
Pink. It's like this rose blossomy, like nourishing romantic energy. I don't think my man would allow me to put too much pink in our bedroom.
We have our own bedroom.
Oh.
So it allows me, which is kind of a human design thing too, but which allows me to have all the pink. But it's funny, I like had a few moments just in the past couple months. I haven't even made the connection where like I'm sitting next to him and I'm just like, you just feel like a rose quartz, like everything in him just like, and I just like, I don't remember whether it was before or after, like when I got that stone or the crystal, but like, my God, he just like, he to me like embodies the crystal in all the ways.
Wow, that's so interesting. My mom and her boyfriend have separate rooms, and I've often thought about that and how that like could really support relationships. So I love that you do that. Is it specifically because of human design and what you guys are both sort of?
He has been dreaming of this since he was young. I think he was just like, why do we collapse our identity into one space? Like, why can't we maintain our identity and choose when to sleep together? And the recommendation in human design for specific types, but I kind of believe for everyone, is that sleep is a really precious time to let go of all the energy that's not ours. And we just like take in each other's energy when we sleep, you know? And it's a little bit easier to wake up as ourselves when we wake up in our own spaces. So I love talking about separate bedrooms because I think, one, it's like just so stigmatized. And I think people see it as something that brings you further apart when I think ultimately it can bring you closer together. It's obviously not financially feasible for everyone. So even just like going to bed earlier, staying in bed later, or taking advantage of when travels, you know, but I think it's just something to play with, like how it feels sleeping together versus apart.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you get into human design?
Oh, and one thing I was going to say is that we don't sleep apart every night. We just
I'm sure you gotta have sleepovers,
we
right?
just choose when to sleep together. The default is like in our own spaces, which I love. Okay. I got into human design. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I came from the world of startups and business and was just like observing a lot of dysfunction, but also inspiration. I was like, how can people work together? And I think on the side, I'd always been exploring so many different modalities, a lot of Kundalini, Reiki, yoga, just all the things, many meditation retreats and practices. And I think that I just was like looking for a bridge.
Yeah.
I was like, I have my personal practices and I have my business work, but just like, where's the connection? And I was sitting at a party on the Lower East Side, for those familiar with New York, and a guy sat next to me and looked at my human design, 2015, and I'd never heard of it.
Wow.
And he just started like telling me all this stuff that felt so familiar and so intuitive, but also stuff I'd never really allowed myself to step into. And he ended that conversation by being like, and by the way, like, we're designed to work together. And I was like, what? And so then when he started to kind of introduce me to the ways that it could impact business and you can kind of engineer teams based on it, I was just like so sold. And so I ended up building a company with him for a couple of years, and but people weren't really ready for it, and it really wasn't. And then I launched my own practice at the beginning of 2018. So it's been such a journey, but part of, I think, you're like, people want to learn about human design. Like, we're at a moment where people are ready for it, and they weren't, And
I haven't heard a lot about it up until probably the last year.
100%. I think it was really like early 2018 when it like started, and it just like is growing in a big way, but it's just like, you can't force when people are ready for these things. And so I think that I feel so grateful to be part of it and to be able to share it, because I just was like, discover the system. I was like, at some point people are going to need this and love this and resonate with it, but I just don't think I can force exactly when that is.
Why do you think that now it's starting to kind of come to the surface for people to really be open to?
I think that in general, it feels like people are really open to a lot of things. I think that like people honestly want a new system, and often I think that we just don't actually need more information. We just need tools. And I think human design, although it comes from the stars, is incredibly practical and tool and grounded and kind of tactical.
Yeah.
And so I think it just is accessible for people. And like, even in the corporate space, like, it's still new there, but I expected a lot more skepticism. I was like, I am coming in and asking for people's birth information. And like, this is very non-traditional for some of these companies, but like, honestly, people love learning about themselves. You know what I mean? So they're sitting there like, tell me everything. And like, human design is just so like specific. It just like resonates on such a cellular level that they're like, I don't care where it comes from. This is amazing. This is so helpful. So I just think that like, I just feel like people are like ready to grow. Like, I think that if people are not open to changing or committed to self-growth, it's just not going to land. But like, just so many people are, and people are just like wanting something more.
Yeah. I think the more that I hear people talking about just growth or spirituality in those types of spaces, you hear they're sort of hungry for it. It's like they're like becoming sponges to this information. And I think you kind of landed on that point. Like, people really want to know more about themselves now.
Totally.
And that's so freaking cool that we're in this place where, these tools are available and have been around for so long that, here we are. We can learn about each other. How long has human design been around?
1987.
Like, who figured that one out?
I know.
1987?
Yeah. It's been around for like not so long, like 30 years. It was, very mystical story, but there was this guy, his name was first Alan, and then he renamed himself Ra-Uhu-Ruhu. He was in Ibiza walking home one day and basically heard a voice. And the voice was like, it's time to work. And so for 8 days and 8 nights, he channeled the system and then spent the next 20 years building it out. So not a system that came from us analyzing people, but basically really just reveals like the energetics and all the stuff that's underneath the surface.
Wow.
Yeah.
I believe it. That's like when I started studying feng shui, I was like, wait, this was like channeled information.
Yeah.
And I believe that like when we get those gems.
I didn't know that about feng shui.
Yeah.
Wow.
It pause.
Oh, in the headphones there's music.
Sorry about that. Feng shui was channeled by a shaman, or at least the story goes. And he was like, okay, I've got to build this temple of heaven in China. And they were like, how are we supposed to build this thing? And the shaman was like sitting by a body of water, and a turtle appeared, and the Bagua system like showed up on the back of a turtle.
Wow.
And like channeled the information of how he could build a home structured around this turtle's back.
That's
crazy powerful. I feel like that's like the messages, like when we are connected and tuned in to this higher power, and have our like channels wide open, we're available for that type of information.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just so powerful because, again, I think with human design, it was not a thing that could have come from us like analyzing humans, because like so much of its magic is helping us understand all the stuff that's unconscious and underneath the surface. You know? And I love what Ra, the founder, like he was just such an unexpected like kind of recipient. You know, he was just like this marketing executive who was just like, he's just a funny guy, like, and like, you know, just like critical in all the best ways, just like a funny guy. And I think that like, I just remember when I first started listening to all the recordings, I was like, oh, I'm expecting like a real spiritual teacher, you know, like and it was just like, this guy was like, I'm Ra. This is what I learned. It's just like, it was just like, I loved how accessible he was and how funny he was. And just like that it came to him.
Wow. Yeah. So for those that have like no idea what human design is, what is it?
It's a good question. So human design is a system that is based on your exact time, date, and place of birth. And the idea is that it gives you your energetic DNA. So it helps you understand how you're meant to make decisions, communicate, work within teams, cultivate relationships, literally all the things. For context, there are about 2 billion different configurations. So I know just because you're a generator, like doesn't mean you're like all the generators. So there's just the idea is that it's really kind of a system of differentiation, like helping us really understand our differences. And by doing that, like ultimately kind of bringing us closer together, because we have so much more empathy and compassion for how we operate, but also how the people around us can.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like astrology, but different.
But different. Everyone's always like, what's the difference? So I'm like, it's a different system. I mean, I think that like it's, you know, I talked to my astrologist friends about this too. And I think the idea is that human design pulls from a lot of different systems. So it draws from astrology, it draws from the Kabbalah, the I Ching, quantum physics, genetics, biochemistry, like all the things into kind of one master system to kind of give us our blueprint. But I think that like, you know, go with the systems that you feel drawn to. I think astrology can be super tactical and practical in all the ways too. I think what drew me to human design was just like that very simple nature of like, how can we actually integrate this into like every decision we make and how we show up every day.
Wow. That's amazing. So what are the different, I know that human design has like how many different types?
5 different types.
5 different types. So what are those, like if someone were to come and be like, I want to know my human design chart, like what do you tell them?
Yeah. So there's so many pieces. The most important things I always recommend are your type, your strategy, and your authority. And so highest, and then, I mean, there's so much more, but that's a great place to start. So there are manifesting generators, projectors, reflectors, and manifestors. And so manifesting generators, and you're a generator, and generators basically make up the majority of the population. And these are the people that have the energy and the life force to kind of build and create and make things happen. Most important thing in the world is that you're really doing work that is deeply satisfying to you. Because when you're kind of lit up by what you're doing, you're basically creating energy for everyone around you. You're kind of meant to wake up in the morning with like a full tank of energy, use your energy in super satisfying ways, and then kind of like crash exhausted and fulfilled and wake up recharged. But like I was laughing. I had a session in San Francisco a few days ago, and this generator that I was working with was like, you know, sometimes I go to bed and I like ask my boyfriend to wrestle because like I just haven't like gotten out my energy for the day. Like I just need to like exhaust the battery. So there's something that kind of fulfilling the, you know, using the battery in that way. And then difference between the two is that manifesting generators often thrive when they have their energy in a lot of things at once. They're like here to be super multi-passionate and just like doing all the things, and they've often been made to feel scattered because of it. But with both types, your strategy is basically about allowing life to come to you. You're not really meant to chase after any of the things. It's just magnetism. The more you do what you love, the more magnetic you become and actually attracting it to you.
Wow.
How's that feel to you?
That feels pretty resonant. Okay. That's why I thought for so long I was a manifesting generator, because I am very multi-passionate and am often focused on many different things at once. But I have so much energy throughout the day. Like that makes sense.
Totally.
And when I don't, I know something's up.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I was giving a talk the other night. This woman was like, I'm a manifesting generator, but I'm like exhausted. And I was like, and how does what you're doing every day feel to you? She's like, it's the worst. I'm like,
right.
Well, it becomes super depleting, and there could be lots of reasons for it. But again, like, yeah, at the heart, these people are both generators. Where it's like, and again, if you're feeling like you want to do all the things at once, like I'm never going to tell you to stop that, you know?
Yeah.
But it is for both types, just really honoring like what they have the energy for and pivoting away from something when the energy is no longer there for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm in that phase.
Yeah.
Like what's time to let go of something.
Exactly. And create all the space in the world for what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you?
I'm a projector.
Oh, okay.
So projectors are...
my boyfriend's a projector.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
My boyfriend's a generator.
That's why I've heard we shouldn't sleep together, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Yeah. And again, if you want to sleep together. But it's just the separateness can be nice. So projectors don't have that same consistent access to energy as generators or manifesting generators. So projectors are really here to kind of be our leaders, our guides, our teachers. Their gift is in like the way they see the world and not in how much they do or how hard they work. Their energy very much operates in spurts. So they need to kind of like honor the ebbs and flows of their energy and not try to just like have the stamina to kind of push through the day. Their biggest shadow is just like becoming super overzealous and doing far too much. The joke, but kind of reality, is that projectors are meant to work about 3 hours a day.
Wow.
And then like spending the rest of their time kind of like honing their craft. And so their gift is really in being very sensitive to energy and really guiding people. And their gift is about waiting to be recognized and invited in before engaging in a new relationship or new opportunity. So because they just like aren't here to really be the doers and are here to see things in a lot of ways, like to make sure their guidance is really invited in before they share it, to kind of make sure they're sharing it with the right people.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah. How does that all like land knowing him?
You know, he works way too much.
Yeah.
I think
where they become like the super
because he's also a Leo. So he has like this, you know, I mean, all the leadership qualities, like all of that definitely resonate. But I think he works too much. But he's in a position of where he doesn't do the physical, like he's not the work. He's in CMO. So he's up at the top, like doing meetings and stuff and delegating. Totally. So it's in that frame of like alignment. But also I see when he's like exhausted, just like wiped, you know, and of course, like we have goals and plans. We're starting our own business, so we're hoping to kind of get him out of that. But you know, it definitely resonates. Yeah,
yeah, and just good to honor those differences, you know.
Yeah,
and again, like as projectors, we're kind of magnifying everyone else's just like work energy. So we're like, we can just keep going and going and going, and then we're like, oh my god, we're exhausted, you know. So just like for you as a partner, noticing when he's like getting on that verge of burning out and like encouraging him to stop.
Yeah.
My partner.
He also has a lot of energy too. Like he's the young one in the relationship.
Yeah.
Not on years. Like he's 43, I'm 30.
Yeah.
But I'm the old soul.
Yeah.
And he's old soul, but like young.
Yeah.
And I think too, like this is where this type of information, learning about this can support people get more tuned into what they should be doing.
Totally.
Because I could see like, you know, some misalignments there for sure. And if someone were to like dive into this information, do you often see kind of a question here when people do learn about this stuff? Do they have like big life transitions or shifts happen?
Often. But it's not because I'm telling them stuff they don't know. It's not like I like have a session. They're like, oh my God, I just discovered I want to be a doctor. You know, it's more like, which would be funny, but it's more like, yeah, I know this job isn't right for me. I know this relationship and like why I'm holding on is for the wrong reason. So human design is not about telling us stuff we don't know. It's the stuff we do know and haven't really fully allowed ourselves to own. You know, like I was just with a longtime client in San Francisco. And, you know, after our first session, she like quit her job because she was able to, you know, that's not true for everyone.
Right.
And then like, you know, just like shifted her path so quickly. And now we built her entire team, you know? And so I just think that like some people are able to take the jump maybe quicker than others, but I think it's going to reveal so clearly what you're doing that is really in alignment with who you are and where you're going and what is just like not.
Yeah.
And it can be a little bit scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is scary. I think once we like open up those doorways and realize we do know like everything when we close our eyes and tune in, or even just get someone to be the mirror and project that like you, it's kind of scary. It's like, oh, that truth is not going to hide. Like you cannot hide from the truth.
You can, you know,
so,
and it's so funny.
You can, but it's,
oh yeah, right. You can. That's so true. But I was sharing the other night where often I've had people come with me and they're like, you know, I'm going to like leave my job or I'm going to leave my relationship. I'm like, okay, great, cool. So when did you know that it wasn't the right place? And they were like, from the minute I took the job, you know, and I'm just like, we just always know, you know what I mean? Do. And human design is a reminder of how to tune into that knowing for each of us. But like so much of the work is having the courage to actually honor those knowings when they come, you know?
Yeah.
So
what are some of the, like, okay, what's kind of going back to like what each, so you did manifesting generator, projector. What is the characteristics of a manifestor?
Cool. So manifestors are really the ones that are here to initiate and get things started. These are the people that are here to kind of make the first move, get the ball rolling, get things going. Their gift is in initiating, but not always here to do all the doing. Freedom, autonomy, and control are incredibly important for them. So it can be a little bit challenging for them to work in environments where they're being micromanaged or told what to do in any way. They're really here to do things on their own terms and in their own way. So often, like if they work at a company, it's like, this is your domain, do what you please, let us know how it goes. Or often they end up working for themselves and being able to kind of chart their own path. So their strategy is all about initiating, making the first move, but also about informing. So once they've made a decision, reflecting on all the people that decision is going to impact and making sure they let them know.
Wow. And there's not a big percentage of manifestors, right?
8 to 9%.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we have reflectors. And reflectors are 1%.
I don't know any reflectors.
Oh my God. I bet you do.
I bet I do. You're right.
Yeah.
I bet someone's right around the corner and I don't even know it.
I was giving a talk in LA at the Wing the other night, and was it the Wing? Oh yeah, and there are 3 reflectors. Wow. Usually it's like, I usually have like 1 at a talk, but I was just like, there are 3. This is so cool. Reflectors are basically these very powerful mirrors. These are people that are incredibly sensitive to their physical environment, and they're basically taking in everything in their environment and mirroring it back to us and letting us know like the state of things. So you really get a sense of like how a company is doing, a team is doing, like a relationship is doing, just by how that person is showing up. Most important thing they can do is plant themselves in spaces that feel really good. So making sure their home feels good, their city feels good, their office feels good. Their identity is meant to be incredibly malleable and always changing, very chameleon-like. So they might feel different around different people and different environments. So allowing that rather than trying to put themselves into one box, like, this is who I am. It's more like, this is who I am today. And it might be different, like they're going to be like generators some days, manifesting generators other days, projectors other days. So just kind of owning that. And then also the last piece I'll share about them is that they just have this very powerful kind of objective perspective. And it's so important for them to kind of be in environments where they're really invited in to share that. Whenever I'm around a reflector, I'm just like, tell me literally everything, because like their perspective is so different, because they're just taking things back and mirroring it in a different way.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is like, if I were to be in a room and reflectors in the room, like based on how they're viewing it is something like, let's just say in business, like if someone's a reflector, I can kind of base how the business is, like the environment, the culture and everything based on how they're showing up.
And also like what they're seeing. You know what I mean? Like if there's a lot of toxicity in their environment, they're probably going to be embodying that. I have like high clients that are in like cities that don't feel good, and they literally just like get diagnosed with so many physical ailments, So I think it's just like something to pay attention to. Like one very simple example, like I was in Ibiza years ago, and like, I don't even remember. We were like in a room, like people were playing music, something, and there was a reflector. And like, I just was watching him because he was so fascinating. And at one point he stands up, he goes, everyone needs water. And I was just like, what is going on? But like, there was just this weird thing where he just like, so like felt the thirst of the room. And he was just like, no one is drinking water. And I was just like, wow, it's such a small example, but it gives like, just like this tuned into the collective and kind of what people need. So I think that like, it's not a thing where you're just like, I'm just going to stare at this reflector and make assessments based on it. But I would get a sense of their perspective. And like, again, knowing for them, at the very least, knowing that space is everything for them.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
It makes total sense. Yeah. I'm beginning to see like why it's kind of important for teams and environments and cultures and business to definitely have like all this information, because I kind of base mine off of astrology. Like when I'm hiring or something, I'm like, what's your sign? Like, can I work with you? Because I know to this degree, like who I can and can't really surround myself around in business and work. But in this realm, it's like, it's deeper, it feels like.
Yeah. And I just like layer, and I don't, I know some about astrology, but I don't know all the things, but I think that everyone assumes I do. Yeah. But it just like really gets deep into all the energetics of both like, again, where the compatibility is, where there might be like challenges where you might kind of trigger each other. Like in terms of hiring people, like it's not even like anything's wrong with that person. Sometimes it will just be like that energy is just not going to function with ours, like, and I think that it just like can save actually so much time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, like, for me as a projector, knowing that like I can't do it on my own, I've always had a generator or manifesting generator supporting me. Like, and I think even, I worked with teams that are all manifesting generators, and like, it's amazing. They've got so much energy and life force and vitality, but they're all going in totally different directions.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so you just like, human design has reminded me that we need each other. And often when we actually have access to their information, then we can just like, engineer things in a way that is just functional and works and is going to support us and not like make us so stressed out about how to make it work.
That's amazing. Well, now seems like the perfect opportunity to share with you goddesses our newest sponsor, the Moon Deck. The Moon Deck is a beautiful oracle set that connects you to your intuition and brings self-care rituals into your daily life. Created to foster community and healing, this entire set of 44 cards, plus a beautiful guidebook filled with rituals, is inspired by the cycles of the moon and the empowerment of women. It shares insights on growth, purpose, practice, and emotional well-being. The Moon Deck can be worked with as an oracle guide, as a daily tool for reflection and meditation, or simply in a tarot-inspired spread. As a Goddess listener, you receive 10% off the entire site, so head on over to themoondeck.com/goddess and enter code goddessmoon to receive your discount. Happy rituals and oracle card pulling, sisters. I love you. Sisters, I have been waking up with so much gratitude and appreciation, all thanks to my favorite app, Yoga Wake Up. Yoga Wake Up has been founded by two of the most amazing humans that I have ever met, and I am honored to be able to announce that they are our newest sponsors for the show. Yoga Wake Up is an audio-guided yoga and meditation app that takes away your beeping alarm clock and implements mindfulness and stretching and yoga into your day. It's only about 5 to 15 minutes long, and it can be replaced as your snooze button, because I know that personally my man loves to press snooze and it definitely messes with my sleep cycle. So we've invited Yoga Wake Up into our morning routine because it truly has had the impact to change our morning and implement this beautiful ritual to have intention to start the day. Instead of scrolling on social media, which you all know we're pretty guilty of in one way, shape, or form, and instead empower you to get ready for the day, have courage, have confidence, have charisma to take on whatever comes your way. Head on over to yogawakeup.com/goddess to get 25% off as a Goddess Nation listener. Are you currently stuck at home, looking around your space going, this thing could use a really good cleaning? Well, I have a very exciting product for you to try. I have been, as some of you might know, I've been developing a product line for the past 3 years inside my cleaning business. This product line has been my new baby. It's something that I'm so incredibly proud of, and it is called Clarity. Clarity is an all-amazing, all-organic, zero-waste full cleaning kit that makes your home smell delicious and invites you into a beautiful ceremony to clean and rid your space of all negative energies. So if you would like to try this beautiful cleaning kit, you can head on over to clarity.com/goddess. That's claryti.com/goddess to check it out. So what are the other key components like in human design? You kind of said that there's that basic part and
Yes.
then there's more.
So there's so much more. So one of the most important pieces is how we make decisions. Have you explored that piece for you?
No.
Okay, good.
I would love to know, because decision making is one of my challenging components.
Right. I mean, that's why I was just like, this is such an important piece, because we're literally making decisions every day, from like who to spend time with, what jobs to take, when to leave jobs, all the things.
How to say yes, when to say no.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's a lot. I use my pendulum a lot to make decisions for me.
Yeah, I feel you. Me too. Okay, so you and I are actually the same decision-making type.
Okay.
And so when you look up your human design, you can look it up at erinclairejones.com/lookup, but there are lots of sites online. It's what we call the inner authority. And so the inner authority is basically the thing that you can rely on to know which decisions are correct for you. And like for none of us, it's the mind. You know, none of us are meant to like create a like pro-con list and be like, this is why I should do this. It's all about kind of tuning into a different place in our body. And so
Wow.
you and I are both emotional decision makers. And so what that
Yeah,
means,
that makes sense.
what that means. So let's talk about you specifically. You're somebody who has an incredibly strong gut response and a very strong intuition. And so for the small decisions, you're meant to use that strong gut response. That gut is like a visceral feeling in your belly. It's like opening, contraction. It's like in your voice. You can often trigger your gut response by having your partner or people around you or your team ask you super specific questions. Instead of being like, what do you want to do about this? It'd be like, do you want to do this or this? Would you like to eat this or this? Like just giving you options allows you to bypass your mind and get you straight into your gut. Makes sense?
Interesting. Okay, give me an example of that.
So an example would be like, my partner is a gut decision maker. So again, this is just part of your decision making. But like if I ask him where he wants to go to dinner, he's just like blank stare. But I'm like, would you like to go out or cook at home? He's like, cook at home. I was like, would you like to make a soup or do you want to make fish? And he's like, fish. It's just like, I basically, when I'm asking him and like giving him things to respond to, I'll have a like answer in a minute.
Interesting.
I mean, in a second, but if I ask an open-ended question, like it gets him straight into his head. So often the gut is just like a feeling of like this thing feels right or it doesn't. I don't always know why, it just does.
Yeah.
Make sense?
So that's how you would communicate to a generator. Like you're communicating to him.
Correct.
Interesting. I like that.
Correct. And so for you, the added layer is that gut response is meant to be something that you rely on for all the small decisions of like small daily decisions, where to eat, who to spend time with, what projects to say yes to. But for the big decisions, you're not meant to make decisions in the moment. It's really healthy, big lesson for me. Yeah. Basically means that you are really meant to give yourself time to sleep on things and feel into things before you commit.
Okay.
Because the idea is that you not only need to feel good about a decision in the moment, you need to feel good over time.
Yeah.
And it still comes back to your gut response. So like you might have an initial response. You're like, oh my God, yeah, this feels amazing. And then it's like, just give me a couple of days and I'm going to like verify that it does. And then it's a couple of days later, it's like, is my gut still giving me a yes? And so because like we're kind of always riding these emotional highs and lows and highs and lows, and it's so natural. But the key is that if we're on an emotional high, we might say yes to way too many things. And if we're on a low, probably yes to too little. And so by giving yourself that space, it's like, okay, yes, I can like enter into something with like just a very clear knowing from this like clear, calm place.
That really resonates. Yeah.
Do you feel like you take your time?
Now I do more than ever, for sure. Like the more that I've grown into myself, I definitely take more time for these decisions, because I am in the process always of making big decisions. But when it's like the big ones where it's like, okay, this is actually going to change a trajectory of my life, you know, those ones I've learned to sit with more and to meditate on and just ask for guidance or a sign, or, you know, versus like the impulsive. And I can get very impulsive.
Yeah, of course.
So when I notice that impulsivity arise, I first of all recognize it as impulse and go, okay, this is like, I could either act on this and get myself into something that really probably isn't in alignment, or I could pause and like come back to this. But it's a process, you know, not every time I listen to that.
Totally. And it's an experiment. Like it's up to us to kind of play with it and experiment with it and see what happens. And I just like have had enough experience at this point that I know that when I'm impulsive, like, yes, sometimes I make aligned decisions, but often I don't, you know, and it's not at the right timing. I think I had so much fear that like opportunities would disappear if I took my time. Yeah. And I find they just become like so much greater and cooler when I do. So that's one way of making decisions. Whereas like some people are what we call sacral decision makers, which means that they can trust their gut response in the moment. So for you, it's for the small decisions, and over time with the big decisions. For some people, it's just like gut feeling in the moment, go with it. There are other people that are what we call splenic decision makers, which is all around their intuition. Intuition is just like a quiet knowing, a whisper that you hear, just resonance with something. So these people are meant to be like very just impulsive and super spontaneous, the opposite of you and I. You and me, there are some people that are meant to talk things out, just like verbally process, like their knowing comes out when they give it a voice. There's some people that are meant to do it based on their ego. It's like, is my heart in this decision? Do I have the willpower to do it? Like, will this decision truly take care of me? Some people, it's all about being in the right environment. And then for reflectors, it's about giving themselves a full 30 days before they commit to a big decision. I know. It always sounds crazy to me. And most of my reflector clients, they're like, I know, totally. I need like a couple cycles sometimes. So they just kind of like, you know, on a different level than us, need to kind of sample a decision from a lot of different angles and kind of different options to really know that it's right for them.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
You know, and maybe it's not going to be a full 30 days every time, but maybe it's just like making sure that they're not in environments where they're being hurried or pressured to make decisions, and knowing that like it's probably going to like take a little bit more time for them.
That's awesome. I love it. Like even just surrounding yourself, like in friendships, relationships, how to learn about your partner or friendship or team so that you can like know how they're going to handle something, what their response time is, like the decisions they're going to make, like everything, or whether they're like they have the capacity to take on that amount of work. It's really fascinating.
I know. And you just have so much more compassion and understanding for people, you know, even just like when I first started studying human design and like discovering my family's designs, I was just like, oh, my sister's a manifestor. We have no generators or manifesting generators in our family. But like, it was just like my dad is a projector. I was like, oh, duh, you know, and like I've always made him wrong for being tired. And I'm just like, oh my God, so it's so useful because I think it just like helps us see people as the like unique humans they are. And like, again, it's not about telling us stuff we don't know. It's just giving us the language and framework to like talk about the things and really understand them. And even maybe vocalize to others, like, this is what I need, you know, to kind of really operate at my best.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Oh my God, there's so much. So, you know, another really interesting piece of human design is what we call our profile. And the profile is basically how we're kind of here to manifest our purpose. So there are 12 different profiles. They're going to show up as like some weird fraction number, like 6'2", 5'1", 1'3". And, you know, they can be so telling. Like, so for example, you are a 5'1", and every number will carry a different meaning. And so for you, the 1 piece means that you are very much here to kind of be an investigator. You're here to just like dig deep into things and like really understand how things work. And like, you might feel like a little bit insecure if you're like, I don't know enough about this thing yet. Like, you kind of got to build a super strong foundation, and then you're here like to become an expert and authority in what you do, but like transforming that insecurity into security just through mastery. So kind of going deep into a process. Like, these are not people that are like, I did the certification program over the weekend and I'm like ready. It's like, you're like, no. Like, the foundation's got to be strong. Like, my partner has this too. And like, he was studying like sex and love and partnership for years. Everyone's like, he's like an expert, and he's like, you know, and now he's like, oh, I guess I do know a lot, you know? So do you feel that?
Totally do. Yeah. I just started studying feng shui. Well, I've been doing it for a long time, like intuitively, but I went to get certified, and it's taken, like, my master was like, it's going to take you like 3 months or 4 months or something. And I'm like, I'm coming up on a year, and I'm like, there's so much to learn that I'm not quite ready yet to, like, it's a lot to integrate all this information. So for me, I feel like when I'm ready to fully step into all of this, I'm going to feel it.
Exactly.
You know, and I used to sew and do costume design, and I did that from like 12 years old. I started sewing.
Wow.
Went to school when I was in college, and I mean, I've like honed that craft. I feel a master at that for sure. Like, I can make anything. Wow. But I was like, okay, I'm done. On to the next thing. So yeah, but mastery to me does take time. For sure.
You know, and just knowing that like your work is to build that foundation and be like, I have a really strong foundation I can stand on.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And again, like, it's not like, again, a new thing. It's just like kind of validating that piece. And there's another quality of your profile, the 5, which basically is like, you're just like very much here to be like a fixer, a problem solver. Like, you're here to like come in, offer solutions no one has thought of, and then like kind of get back out. Like, you're here to like save the day, but like not all the time, you know, it's just like come in, fix the thing, then go. And I think the thing to be aware of with this one is sometimes there can be a tendency for people to project a lot of things onto you.
Yeah. And
you know, that you can do this or fix them or guide them or lead them or save them or handle this thing or this thing. And for you to know yourself well enough to kind of use your gut to only say yes to the projections that are truly correct for you. And to know yourself well enough that you're not constructing your identity based on what other people see in you, because they can kind of see anything. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And it can jump in romantic relationships too, where people will put them on a pedestal in some way. And you're like, yeah, I guess that is some of me, but that's not all of me. And like, I need to be seen in all the ways.
Right.
So it's just like, it is this like, just like powerful kind of seductive leadership quality, but again, requires you knowing yourself well enough to create those boundaries of like what you're really available for and what you're not.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's been a big lesson the last year.
Totally.
Yeah. Boundaries.
Yeah. Well, that's actually just such a big lesson for like, I mean, I think for all of us, but I think, you know, especially for in different ways, but for generators and manifesting generators, it's like, because you have this amazing, just like vitality and life force and energy, people can want to take advantage of it. And not in like any kind of malicious way, but they just like feel that you have the capacity to like handle the things and do the things. And so like for you to be like, I'm available for the things that light me up and I'm not available for the rest, because I know that like when I do the things that light me up, it creates energy for everyone around me. And when I don't, it doesn't, you know?
Yeah. And it's very obvious too. Like, I can see when the energy's there, and when it's not, I'm like, oh yeah, no, this isn't going to work.
100%. Yeah. Like, your energy is your greatest guide. It's just like, what do you actually just naturally have the energy for? Like, how can you just follow that?
Yeah. It's good questions to ask for sure.
Yeah. So there are so many pieces, but the profile is a really cool piece to look into, because like, you know, whereas you're going to be like an investigator and build that super strong foundation, like I'm meant to like, I'm what we call a hermit. I have it 2, which means 1, I need to spend time alone. Of course, we all do. But 2, like I'm just meant to be like a natural at what I do. Like, I'm not really meant to do the things that come hard or the things that feel super unnatural, but just like the things that come really easy. And I often don't even see what I'm good at until people see it in me and call me out for it. And like, I often didn't assign worth to those things because I was like, can I actually get paid for that thing? Like, totally. But it's often like, that's what I meant to lean into, you know, but there's conditioning of like, oh no, go do the hard route. So like, it is again, often just giving people permission to kind of lean into what feels most natural to them.
Yeah. So you kind of explained, I think I heard you say earlier, there's like a shadow side as well. to all this?
Of everything.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. When is there not? So
you're like, yeah, of course there is.
So I think there are shadow expressions of like all the aspects of our design, but I think another really interesting piece to look into is, so if you look at the human design chart, that you'll see that there are 9 geometric shapes, and they correspond a little bit to the chakras. The idea is that there are 9 of them, and that the centers that are colored in are the centers that you're drawing your energy from, the things that are more consistent within you.
Wow.
Or you're projecting your energy out. So for example, one of the areas in which you're projecting your energy out is your emotions, which means like when you're in a great mood and feeling amazing, people around you are like, I feel amazing. And when you're in a low, they're going to feel it too.
Oh man, that's like been my hardest lesson. Honestly, I have to remember that, because I'm very easily, like I can very easily move the energy around, and I've had people like straight up tell me like, whoa, you need to chill out. I can feel you and you're making me feel this way.
Totally.
Oops. Yeah.
Oops, exactly. Yeah. Big lesson for me. It's like when I'm in an emotional low, I'm like, okay, I've got to be more reclusive. My partner's like, good night, see you in a while. You know, it's just like, it's just honoring that, and knowing where we project our energy out. But there are also areas in which we take our energy in. And those are areas where we can often get a little bit off track or shadow or distractions, because like we take stuff on and we don't know what's ours and what's not, And so, one area for you is your open throat center, which basically means that, and it's pretty rare. I think it's probably like 30%. I could have that percentage wrong of people that have it open. And the idea is that like, you really are here to have like a very fluid way of expressing yourself. Not one consistent voice. It's always kind of changing and adapting.
Yeah.
The shadow of this one is not trusting that attention will come to you. So if you feel a pressure to kind of initiate communication and just like make yourself seen, because if you don't, you won't be visible. Or sometimes there might be a tendency to like spend a lot of energy trying to figure out what you're going to say, and then be like super surprised about like what actually like pops out of your mouth. You know what I mean?
Totally relate to that one.
And I think like the wisdom for you is like trusting the invitation will come.
Yeah.
And your words will have the most impact when you're invited in to share them. And like I was doing a session right before this, a woman had this too, and she was like, it's so funny because like when I was a kid, like all my report cards were like, this woman has amazing things to say, but she doesn't talk enough, so she's got to talk more. And so she's like, I've got to talk, but like the gift is like only speaking when it's like better than silence, like only saying the things that need to be heard, and then your words are just so deeply impactful. And like often these people are like master speakers and master orders because they just perfect the right timing for saying things and giving your attention to others until you're invited in to share. And the last piece I'll share on that one is just that, say you're giving a talk or hosting a workshop, like according to your human design, you're not someone who should like, just like, I'm going to just plan out all the things that I'm going to say and like read out my thing. It's like, I'm going to just sit in front of the group.
Oh no, I can't do that.
Tune into exactly where they are and just say what needs to be heard, because like you've just got such openness in your design to really just kind of express exactly what needs to be said.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty on the dot. Yeah. Like I've spoken about this before. I've tried having all the questions ready for podcast, or like planned something for a workshop, like even because I do a lot of live workshops online. And when I plan, it never goes to plan. First of all, like something else will come over and another message will come through. So all that planning time is sort of wasted for me.
Totally.
So a lot of people don't know this, but I will literally create a workshop as I'm going through it.
Yeah.
Like I won't even
kind of meant to
do. So that's really interesting, because some part of me has said like, oh, that's wrong. Or, right. I need to have a plan, or like I'm showing up unprepared. Right. But I don't know. That's nice to hear. I'm doing it right.
Yeah. You're like, okay, I'm going to tune in and do this group. I'll just say what needs to be heard, and you can prepare, but then throw it away. You know what I mean? Then set it aside and like let the thing come out. So
I think the preparation for me, and maybe for those also that resonate to that, is preparing my energy.
Totally.
More than anything. Like, am I tuned in? Am I like, did I do my meditation? Did I do the things that I need to know for that channel to come through?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. So the open centers are a super cool area. One more I'll share is that you also have an open ego center. I do too. A lot of us have an open ego center.
Yeah.
And it basically means we can have an inconsistent sense of self-esteem and willpower, which means sometimes we might feel amazing about ourselves and other times less so. And sometimes we might have the willpower to do things and other times we don't. And so the biggest shadow for us is just like just trying to prove that we're enough, overcommitting, overcompensating. Like we're never enough. So we have to do this certification and then this certification. And like, honestly, the wisdom for this one, which has been so profound for me, is honestly that like you've got nothing to prove. And And if you're ever doing something out of a desire to prove yourself, it is just not going to be the right thing for you. And the thing is that like some people do have something to prove, you know, but like the people that have the open ego, it's just like not really
just drop it.
Just drop it
like it's hot.
Yeah. And like be super, exactly. And just be like super careful about the promises you're making. You're not here to make like lots of promises. So, like, really only committing to the things that you truly know you can like carry out.
I love that. That's really nice medicine to hear.
Yeah. Just
the not enough conversation. Man, that one's a tough one.
It is. Yeah. And about like 70% of us have it open. So it makes sense that so many of us are like struggling with that, you know? Oh. And so like, for me, I did not realize how much I was trying to prove myself. You know what I mean? And I would just be like saying things or like saying yes to a coffee date. I'm like, what am I? And now it's just having that like small filter of like, where is this coming from? It has just shifted things because I'm like, oh, darn it. I was trying to prove I was a good friend. I was trying to prove that I was smart.
Right. Oh my God, that one's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in going back to making decisions, because like recently I've been asking myself a lot, like, why do I want to go? What is the reason behind it? Is it to be seen? Is it to like have an ego around something? Like, is it coming from my ego? I didn't really develop that awareness up until like maybe the last couple of years. And I've really been more applying it now than before.
So cool. And that's like, it's a great reminder because I think often when we're doing work on ourselves and know ourselves, this stuff happens naturally. Do you know what I mean? It's not just like, again, it's not a foreign thing. It's like, you know, especially when I do sessions with people that are a lot older, like, oh yeah, I learned that lesson, you know? Yeah. So it's just a good reminder.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I love all this. It's so informative.
Oh my God. It's just like, there's so much endless.
Yeah. It's like layers of an onion, isn't it?
Oh my God. Beyond. And that's why it's always can be a little bit overwhelming at first. And I'm just like, no need to remember it all. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like master the core pieces and integrate more when you're ready. Like I've been studying and integrating this for years now. And like, I'm still learning new stuff and I always will, you know, and I'm just always like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about it in that way. So just like, you know, the point is again, never to inundate people with more information, but just like giving them tools to actually practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has there been like any challenges that you personally face, like really integrating this medicine and like applying it to yourself as in business and creating like a structure around this type of work?
I think that like any challenges, I think that one thing I always remind people of is that like human design is meant to be an experiment. And so if I'm witnessing, which means that like just because I say something doesn't mean like you're like, okay, that's my truth. I'm just going to like not even test it.
Yeah.
Like I think that like you've got to play with it. And I think that sometimes I hear people being like, oh, you know, I'm just like not doing anything because I'm just like waiting to be invited in. It's like this stuff is active. Like if you ever feel like you're holding yourself back and like then like that's not the right use of the system. Like the system is here to really empower you. And so like, you know, for me needing to be invited in, it's like I always experiment with that. I'm just like pushing boundaries, seeing what happens. Like because like I want to discover for myself what it really feels like in my body. So I think like treat it as an organic thing. You know what I mean? And like, just like integrate it in and see what happens when you do it. My experience is that when you align with it, often life tends to feel a whole lot better and just like be much more successful, you know? And so, but it is honoring like I think my biggest challenge and, you know, biggest lesson has been like honoring what I'm great at and like allowing myself to be a projector and like handing off the rest. Like there's such a desire to be like, oh, I want to like do all the things, but like I'm not great at the rest of the things. So I think really bringing on the right support and just like trusting myself and trusting my design to like do exactly what I meant to.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have this question popping up that I feel like everybody probably is like on the edge of their seats wanting to ask. Relationships. So kind of going back to that, what are there specific signs I want to say signs, but types. Okay. Types that work better than others together in relationship?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that like my answer is that anything's possible. You know what I mean? It's definitely not a thing where like you're like, oh, you'll have an app. Like I'm looking for a projector that's an emotional decision maker. Like, you know, people have asked about that. Like swipe right. Like it's like you want to have chemistry. Like once you have chemistry with someone, you're feeling that attraction. Like it's so beautiful to then look at your designs. And like I did a bunch of couple sessions this West Coast trip and just like see how to support each other in being different. You know, I think that like if there's a lot of similarity in your design, there's going to be a lot of understanding, a lot of harmony. You're just going to get each other.
Yeah.
There's a very strong foundation for friendship. if you are very different, it's like difference is what attracts us, And so like, again, difference is great as long as you understand and honor those differences. Like my partner and I are so radically different. And like, if we tried to be more similar, like we would probably really struggle. So I think that like, and there are some relationships, this is not based on the type, but kind of other configurations that like will be held together a little bit more tightly, whereas other ones are super loose and it might take a little bit more work for them to like stay connected as a unit. And so I think human design can actually just give us so much insight into how to be more compatible, and like mostly by honoring that that person is really different than we are, and how can you support them in that?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that that's sort of the answer actually, because, I think it's, I do believe that, there's compatibility and kind of everyone. Some people are obviously not compatible in terms of like communication or these elements, but just understanding each other better is kind of what I'm hearing you say. It's more along those lines, and honoring and respecting each other's type and space versus like going, oh, this isn't going to work.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I just think we get so tripped up when we expect someone to be different than what they are, or we expect them to be more similar than us. So whether it's with your dad or your partner or your boss, or your someone who works for you, like it's so revealing, and just I think allows you to understand how to best work with them and communicate with them. Like I've managed teams that have manifestors, reflectors, and manifesting generators on them, and I just like connected with them all differently and like found a way of working, but like it wasn't any kind of blanket approach.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like, okay, you're a manifestor. Sorry, you can't be in my space. Like not like that. It's like kind of creating something that's all inclusive to 100%. Be able to work with each other's energies.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you're a manifestor. You need a lot of freedom. So I'm actually not going to try to manage you and just like give you your domain. Do what you please. Just keep me informed,
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's just like, and you can just leverage people. It's
I want to know all my team's
oh my God, the team stuff. You should buy
I'm like, okay, we're in the interview. Okay, what's your sign? Like get it all, or I keep saying sign, but type. Yeah. Get all your information to find this out.
I know. I work with a lot of teams on hiring and just engineering, because again, it just like life becomes a little bit easier when you understand how different every person is.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. This whole conversation, I'm like, I just have so many.
I know you're like ready to go deep.
Yeah, I'm ready to go deep. I love, first of all, anything that allows me to go deep is definitely my jam. Yeah. There you go. That's why I want to pick and prod and unravel the whole thing.
100%.
Yeah. Like, but why? And like, also I was going to ask this in the beginning, but how did, what is his name? Ra, you said? How did he actually create this system? It was just channeled, or is it just like based on our birth time? Like how did it all?
Yeah, it was totally channeled. And then he spent years building it out and kind of building the software. And the software is based on kind of where all the planets are and what kind of qualities are lit up by people. And then, and then it's kind of this mandala around the chart. And based on what's lit up, that kind of lights up our chart.
I'm obsessed with mandalas. That's what I paint. So.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, you should look at, not all the human design charts online, you can see it. But if you can see ones that like are zoomed out a bit, you can see the entire mandala around it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, so fascinating. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my God, such a treat. Yeah. So fun to do it in person.
I know, and I love that you just have such an immediate way of just like boom, 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 here it all is.
I know.
I can tell you this is like what you're here to do.
It's just like, it's funny because like the more we master a thing, the more it becomes part of us. And like, I just feel like I even reached a level in the past for like year where it's just like, just like, and it's so nice to not have to think about it and just like have a thing become part of us.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Oh, of course. Okay, so of course, I'm sure people are going to want to learn like how they can work with you or get their chart read. So where can everybody find you? Social media links, website, anything you have coming up that we need to know about?
So I'm Erin Claire Jones everywhere, erinclairejones.com and my Instagram, and I share a lot there. One of the best offerings I would recommend to get started is an offering called The Blueprint, which is a 30-page PDF that I put together on your design that kind of gives you all the key pieces we talked about today and so much more in terms of like how to really just like understand yourself, but also integrate it into your life. We can do a discount for your audience if you want to do it. And then I also do sessions and work with partners and couples and business partners and teams and all the things.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm based in New York. Yeah.
You'll get a discount code. We'll put it in the show notes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and blast it out when this is released.
Amazing.
So, okay, wrapping this up, last and final question for you. Mm-hmm. What does it mean to you to be a goddess?
I think what comes to mind is like, honestly, just to be myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel like, and there are times where I get really, and like to be myself, but also to be like really in my body.
Yeah.
Like, I think that like there are times where I get like so in my head and so businessy, and it's just like, it's great, things are flowing, but I'm just like not embodied. And I think just like when I feel like I really have roots and can flow and just feel like I'm expressing myself in a way that feels so authentic.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Aho to that, sister.
Aho.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to look in your beautiful eyes and get to know you. So
Yes.
I hope you guys all enjoyed this show and are just as curious as I am to dive deeper into all this. And if you're interested in working with Erin, please reach out. I'm sure she's going to blow your mind, just like she kind of has mine today. So I love you all so, so much. Thank you. I love you. I see you. I hear you. I will see you all next week. Bye, Erin.
Bye. Thank you.